How would you describe your film? Because I mean, it showed at Fright Fest, but it's not really a horror film, although it is quite disturbing.
Yes, disturbing fest. I would describe Chained as a horrific tale, but more a psychological thriller than horror. And I myself am a huge fan of horror. I think horror fans are some of the smartest and most devoted to cinema out there. But I think that one of my main concerns about it being pitched as a horror film was that horror fans would be disappointed. I mean, the tolerance for violence has become quite high. And so because there isn't a lot of graphic violence in the film, it's more of a mentally upsetting and emotionally upsetting horror. I was worried people would be disappointed. But so far, I mean, everybody was so kind to me after the screening. Bless their hearts. Thanks, guys. I would describe it more as a deeply upsetting psychological horror film.
Well, that's what really struck me about it, was how little violence was actually shown on the film.
Yes, and I couldn't believe I'd gotten an NC-17 in the States. What they ended up telling me was it just felt too real.
Really?
And, I thought that was the point, that you go into a movie and it feels like a reality for that time, that you're sort of a peeping Tom voyeur into these other lives, and that you believe it.
As a female director, do you feel you had slightly more rights to address this violence against women? That's
slightly more rights.
Well, not rights, but sort of a...
No, I didn't. I mean, it's always weird to me to have people draw attention to my gender, because I don't wake up and think, yay, I'm a girl. It just sort of is who I am. So I didn't think I had more rights or more of an ability or permission to address the violence with women. If anything, I hope I'm treating the violence towards men and women equally. Humans are wonderful and terrible to each other, and that's what I'm examining. But it has nothing to do with my uterus.
Well, I mean, there is a huge shortage of women directors in America around the world. So
yes, and I don't know why that is. I don't know why there aren't more female directors. Maybe it's just not what they're gravitating towards, or it seemed taboo, especially in certain darker genres. I salute Catherine Bigelow for the work she does, and I think women are incredibly brave, and they're great storytellers. I mean, who didn't love mom reading to them as a kid? So that tone and that voice, a mother's tale, I think can tell us all sorts of stories in the same way that a man can. But again, I don't address, other directors as, boy, you're a great male director. It tends to take some of the value away from it. I just sort of think of them as directors.
Well, because the interesting is, in the Middle East, there's probably more female film directors than
there
anywhere.
are male, exactly. And so they're out there. I just don't know that for some reason society hasn't accepted that you don't have to have, junk in the front to tell a story.
Mm. And your lead actor, Vincent D'Onofrio, is amazing in the film. How did you get? I mean, he's played a very similar role in The Cell. Is that what attracted you him, or was that just that he's so good anyway?
I was attracted to Vincent D'Onofrio for this because I had fallen in love with him as an actor when he first started working in Full Metal Jacket, and I think that he's, and I every day of my life for many years was watching Criminal Intent, both new and reruns, and he's just got a bravery to him and an authenticity that this character needed. And although he'd played a serial killer in The Cell, this was more, and that was such a beautiful film to look at and striking visually. And this was more of an everyday, normal guy who's really bad and sad. And so I knew that he could give me those shades of gray. I'm a bad man, but I'm a hurt little boy.
But not 50 Shades of Grey.
Exactly, yeah, 50 Shades of Grey. I should totally direct that movie.
No, it shouldn't be made.
No, it shouldn't be made.
It should have never been published.
I would love to do something that does what that book seems to be doing for women in a film. You know, I think women need to be talking more about sex. But yeah, I agree with you.
So you would like to do something
I would, yeah. I
different
mean,
to what you're doing
it's
now?
the same thing I explored when I was writing The Secret Diary of Laura Palmer. That type of female fantasy and sexuality is in all of us, and it shouldn't be as taboo as it is right now. You know, it's 2012.
Also, the issue of rape has been brought up quite a lot in the current political campaigns in America, which...
Yes, you know, I mean, and rape is, you know, obviously more about violence than it is about sex. And it's a form of violence that is, you know, all forms are damaging and hideous, and yet they happen every day. And so hopefully examinations of them in cinema and dialogues about them in politics and at dinner tables will help us put an end to a great deal of it.
So was the story actually inspired by real events, or was it something you saw, or is it just because so much of it does go on in the world?
You know, actually the story came to me. The producers sent me the script that was originally written by Damien O'Donnell, and it's the same storyline you see here, and yet there were detectives, and it was a lot more graphic, and the way he killed was different. And I didn't gravitate towards that. I didn't want to do a torture porn. There are people out there who do that very well and who want to do that. I wanted this job. I needed the job. And I was fortunate enough to convey to the producers, I'd love to do a rewrite on this and make it about the relationship between the man and the boy. I think, you know, knowing what we know about what happens in the world and what clearly has been going on for a long time. It didn't just start with the advent of the internet that people were trapping children, both their own and kidnapped children. So it's been going on for a while. It's in the world's consciousness, but it's not about any one of those cases. It's just an imagined situation, and you know, hopefully something that'll create a dialogue about child abuse and you know, entertain. You know, I mean, it is inevitably not a cure for cancer. It's a movie. So, and you know, entertain, maybe the wrong word, but it's still, you know, it's a movie. So it should
be thought-provoking.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, and I again, I'm not trying to say it's some great observation about violence, but I hope it's something that gets people talking.